I'm John Kaiser in Vancouver at the Metals Investor Forum, September 28th, 2018, talking to Ron Little, CEO of Wolfden Resources. Ron, welcome to Vancouver.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me.
In the presentation you gave today, you emphasized that the new protocol for permitting a mine suggests that you could get a mine permit for as short as 2 years. Now, is this only because they are restricting mines to underground mines, or have they simply got their act together in a way so that a permit can be in hand within 2 years?
I think it's a combination of both. They have banned the open pit mining for really reasons that not to speed up the process. They're just more nervous of underground mines because in the past there's been a bad accident and it's still leaching, and they really, I think, didn't take enough time to look at what can be done to run a modern mine and not damage the environment. And I think in time that they will get there. But back to the 2-year protocol, it's much like I've seen in Africa. You use your feasibility and you do your baseline work, and in that process they're involved and you run the 2-year process. So they have set up timelines that they will meet as long as you submit the required information. So I'm kind of glad you asked this because we've been testing the water on a preliminary basis. To me, they're most worried about the water. And if we can demonstrate what the background levels are and agree that that is background level, I'm expecting high levels because the deposit is near surface now. I want to get their agreement that they recognize that as the ultimate background for remediation. And to me, we hope to get that in the next few months.
Now Maine is kind of a place that has not seen exploration for a long time. And another comment that you made, which I think I may have misheard, is that for exploration, you have your permits all in hand. Is this just for the small footprint in the vicinity of the Picket Mountain deposit for which you have exploration permits, or is it in place for the entire property so that if on your exploratory targets you start intersecting high-grade polymetallic VMS mineralization, you can just keep drilling, or do you have to go back as you do in Nevada and go to the BLM or the Forest Service and do a song and dance to try and get a permit to build another drill pad to tackle this from the new angle that you realize you should be drilling it from?
Yeah, no, the benefit of the new code is there's no permits required for exploration. We have submitted a plan to tell them exactly what we're doing, and they have said thank you for letting us know. In addition, they plan to come out and visit us every 6 months to see how our progress is. And so far we've gotten a gold seal of approval on all the drilling and the work we've done on site. And the only thing I would say we do different than in Canada is when we clean up a drill site, we've been putting down a bit of hay and seed to get the grass grow a little quicker, which really doesn't amount to a lot of money. And within months, besides a drill casing, you can't tell we were ever there. So it does a nicer job. And even the forestry guys that work there have come in and said, gee, you guys are better stewards of the forest than we are. When we make a drill pad, we might push trees down, but we come back, cut them up, and clean the place up afterwards. So for basic work, you don't need any permits at all.
So when I look at Maine through Google Earth and zoom in, I just see nothing but forest, and it looks pretty dense. And I think I understood correctly that the Picket Mountain lenses were discovered through geochemical surveys. But if it's so densely forested, to what extent does Maine have geochemical coverage?
That's a good question. We've been compiling data as much as we can get our hands on. Because Maine has always been mineral rights that are privately held, not a lot of documents are filed publicly. And so companies like Getty and BHP did a lot of work back then, and you can ask around. A lot of these guys are still alive, and we've been able to manage to find some of that data, and that's what we're working with. But even within our, call it 25-kilometer belt, it doesn't take long because of the road network to run a bunch of lines. Particularly now that we've flown the area, we can focus in on a few targets. And it's the nice thing about Maine is there's really a no trespassing law. You can go anywhere, and it's at your own risk. So it's quite acceptable to be driving across somebody else's plot of land, and if we're assuming too, you take a grub hoe and you dig a little hole, it's not upsetting anybody. So you can get an idea of what's there before you have to spend a lot of time and money, drilling a hole, etc.
Now, you also made a comment that if, say, you are the first ones to get a new mine into production under the new permitting regime and everything goes as predicted and the state becomes more comfortable with the idea of mining, eventually they may consider lifting the ban on open pit mining. But the question that occurred to me, are there a bunch of these deposits that outcrop that are bulk tonnage type deposits that need to be open pit, or that could be open pit mined, which are sitting there waiting to be picked up by somebody?
There are indeed, and it's really how the new code came about. The Bald Mountain project, which is about 100 miles from us, that is a big lower grade large system, and they tried to push that through under a first generation new code 5 years ago, and it had local opposition, meaning there was little consultation. Then the government and representatives went away to say we got to redo the code, and this is where I think it's unfortunate that mining companies or mining company representatives weren't involved to basically educate people on what the new production scenarios are like. They could have even gone to New Brunswick and looked at Caribou's operation, looked to see at what how clean you can make the effluent water, etc. And this is why I say, and it's only my opinion, they had a very quick reaction to go and be very green and clean, yet once they see that modern mines are run that way, I think they'll reconsider, knowing that a mine will generate a lot of tax flow for the state.
Now, you pointed out that Picket Mountain is in the same belt of rocks as the Buckens deposit in Newfoundland, which is very high grade but not super large. And then, of course, the Bathurst camp, which was very large. Has sufficient work been done in Maine to wipe out the possibility that there are monsters and not just maybe a Buckens clone available to be found with sufficient new exploration?
No, I mean, this is why we're there, is we still hope to find an elephant in there. The Bald Mountain is quite a big deposit. It's lower grade, but it is a big one. And there's nothing to say that there aren't others hiding there. So, and this is why I think Getty and BHP would have been in there early trying to do some geochem, hoping that they would find it that way. And, I still don't have the full story on how the whole thing evolved. There are some Getty guys around. Like even Don Taylor, who's now running Titan, I hear that he spent some time with Getty back in those days, even at Mount Chase, which is what it used to be called. So we're keen to keep, kind of put the history together and help us then try to find something else in the whole in the state. We're still looking at the whole state.
Well, I think as first mover in Maine, you have a head start on everybody else. I have been talking to Ron Little of Wolfden Resources. Thank you, Ron.
Thanks very much, John.